Good morning. And we're back. March 25th, 2020, 10:36 a.m. Off and running. I was up late last night. A couple friends of mine and I decided to break the law and meet at an apartment just to play video games and pool. That's against Governor Inslee's crackdown, but heck, it wasn't like we were out in public. And I was approaching terminal boredom status, so it was what it was. But it's also encouraging to know that apparently we're going to be allowed to engage in certain recreational activities such as hiking, jogging, going outdoors. I drove down to the gas station to get coffee today, and I saw, as I was driving past Wright Park, I saw a number of couples and small groups of people dressed in workout clothing walking around the park. And there was one police SUV on the south end of the park, sort of watching over everything. I'm going to get in more detail with respect to the stay-at-home proclamation. I have the actual verbiage of the proclamation printed out, and some further information about exactly what kind of authority is given by Washington State Code. But first, let's dive in with the grim details as of today's date. Well, actually, I guess this is as of March 24th at 6:06 p.m. Locally, here in Pierce County, we're up to 138 cases of COVID-19, still sitting at only one fatality. King County is sitting at, they are up to 1,277 cases and 94 fatalities. And Snohomish County is at 614. 614 cases with 16 fatalities. So in the state of Washington, as of 6 o'clock yesterday evening, we were up to 2,469 positive or confirmed cases and 123 deaths. Zooming out a little bit, the United States currently is reporting 60,653 positive or confirmed cases, and the United States is now looking at a figure of 819 fatalities. So, as I mentioned, I wanted to get into the figures of the viral pandemic that this country was experiencing exactly a decade ago, the H1N1. That was a very serious time and a very serious problem that our country and the whole world was facing. And I've been able to track down the exact figures from the Centers for Disease Control's website. And it seems like I was essentially accurate when I characterized how serious it was in terms of cases and fatalities when I spoke of it a couple of days ago. So I'm going to jump to that. All right. The 2009 H1N1 pandemic. So, from April 12th, 2009 to April 10th, 2010, Centers for Disease Control estimated there were 60.8, that's 60.8 million cases, 274,304 hospitalizations, and 12,469 deaths in the United States alone. Granted, this was something that took place over an entire year, and the first reported case in the United States was just over 2 months ago. With the rate at which the numbers are increasing with COVID-19, if that were not to be mitigated and mitigated quickly, we could be looking at figures just as bad as H1N1, if not worse. But it is important. I'm going to repeat these numbers again. From April 12th, 2009 to April 10th, 2010, CDC estimated there were 60.8 million cases, 274,304 hospitalizations, and 12,469 deaths in the United States. as of right now with COVID-19, we've yet to hit 1,000. And H1N1 killed 12,000. Well, 12,500, really. I don't recall a reaction anything like what we're dealing with now from back then. I mean, we keep hearing everyone talk about how we're completely in uncharted territory with this right now, completely unprecedented. I don't want to see figures like this for H1N1 hit this country ever again. And so these mitigation efforts are going to be effective provided that people respect them. I'm still not going to back away from my previous sentiment that the overreaction to this is politically motivated, to say the least, and that it most certainly is an overreaction in some regards. I think that I need to read up a little more on this idea of herd immunity. I keep on hearing people throw that term around. Essentially, people are saying if people are young and healthy and have a very, very strong chance of recovering from COVID-19 after only a couple days of being symptomatic, then it's important we get those people back out into the workforce. That's a sentiment that I've heard uttered more than once. I don't know where I land on that. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but it's real. It seems like it would be a more palatable alternative to the shutdown that we're currently looking at. So I think I yesterday already spent a little time looking at the specifics of the governor's proclamation. And just for the sake of being thorough, I'm going to take a closer look at it now. All right. So the governor had already made a proclamation declaring a state of emergency on February the 29th. Now, that's just about a month ago, and it already seems like ancient history, doesn't it? February, when the Proclamation 20-05 proclaiming a state of emergency for all counties throughout the state of Washington. So this one is Proclamation 20-25, and that was as of the day before yesterday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, apparently businesses were given 48 hours to bring their operations to some stopping point, whereas all individuals and social gatherings and everything, the proclamation took effect on the rest of us immediately. Now, there are, like I said, certain things that are allowed in terms of being able to get out, being able to exercise, being able to take walks, being able to go hiking and things like that. And so let's see. Essential activities. These are things that are permitted under Governor Inslee's proclamation. Obtaining necessary supplies and services, such as groceries, medicine, etc. Engaging in activities essential for the health and safety of family, including family members and pets. Medical and or behavioral health or emergency services, caring for a family member or friend. And here's the one that encourages me a little bit. Engaging in outdoor exercise activities such as walking, hiking, running, or biking, but only if appropriate social distancing practices are used. My friends and I have a couple ideas of certain things that we can do. We've already been talking about driving out to the mountains and seeing if we can go riding again, even though the resorts and the lifts are all closed down. I have a friend of mine on Facebook who shall remain nameless for now, but he's posted pictures of himself and his lady up at summit at Snoqualmie, hiking up the slopes and riding back down again. He's got an amusingly defiant attitude towards all this, and he's posting some pretty cool pictures. So, I mean, there's an idea right there. That's something that my friends and I might be inclined to do. And why not? It's only a group of 3 of us, and we're practicing social distancing from everyone else. By the way, gosh, I should have written down the name of it or something. Video games. I have not played video games since, and I haven't played any new video games since Nintendo Entertainment System was the newest one. And there's emulators out there and everything, so I get to go back and play my old favorite games. Ninja Gaiden, that's the best. It's just the best. Anyway, my friend last night was playing a new Star Wars game, and I don't even Fallen Order. I think that's what it's called. And my God, it's the graphics on these things. Just, I mean, I hardly ever even pay attention to video games. I lost the bug a long time ago. But sitting in my friend's apartment, just watching him play this game was like watching a movie. The graphics and the cinematography and the backgrounds and the attention to detail and the storylines. It's all so very well done that it's like, wow. But still, I think I'd rather watch my friend play the game than try to play it myself. I find that a lot more entertaining. So there's some encouraging news coming out of Washington, D.C. It seems like the Senate and the White House have reached some kind of a deal with respect to new legislation. I'm not talking about the CARES Act, which was introduced by, I believe it was by Mitch McConnell, Senator Mitch McConnell. That one was blocked pretty severely, but now there is new legislation. I don't have a summary of exactly what it does on congress.gov. I don't know what the bill is called or what its title or number or whatever is, but apparently it's something that's being given a lot of support pretty broadly, even by Democratic members of Congress who attempted to push their own legislation after the CARES Act was blocked. And that's something I wanted to spend a little time talking about today. I think I touched on it a little bit yesterday with the amount of ideological goodies, I think is the term I used, being added to this bill. And I've been able to get a little bit more information about exactly what kind of things they were attempting to push. The Democratic Party in the House of Representatives was trying to push. So the first thing I want to point out is that there was a bill called H.R. 6201, which was introduced on March the 11th and which was signed into law exactly a week later on March the 18th. H.R. 6201, it was 42 pages long. This bill responds to the coronavirus outbreak by providing paid sick leave and free coronavirus testing, expanding food assistance and unemployment benefits, and requiring employers to provide additional protection for healthcare workers. Makes sense. Now, the follow-up to that, which came in the House of Representatives from the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives, was Bill H.R. 6379. Now, this one has also been blocked, and the new Senate legislation, which is going to be voted on at some point very soon, is taken its place. And so what I'm about to share with you is not going to come to pass, but up until, I want to say, late last night, that was not yet established. So I want to give you some details about this. Again, Bill 6201, which was introduced on the 11th and then passed and signed into law a week later, was 42 pages. And it had some really reasonable things in it: unemployment benefits, food assistance, protections for healthcare workers, etc. Bill 6379, which was entitled the Take Responsibility for Workers and Families Act or something like that. Bill 6379 is 1,403 pages. 1,403 pages. The things that were included in this bill that had so many people so upset, and not because they weren't valid things that need to be discussed and legislated about, if you will, but because they have nothing to do with coronavirus. Nothing. Okay? And the fact that they were stalling the progress of any other legislation to try to get this pushed through now with everything going on had a lot of people fit to be tied. So, yeah, the Take Responsibility for Workers and Families Act was an attempt by Democrats to hijack the coronavirus stimulus for a certain like liberal grab bag of socialist goodies. Now, it was Pelosi's bills, Speaker Nancy Pelosi of the House. These are some of the things, some of the worst things that were put into this legislation. Worst in terms of their lack of relevancy to what this stimulus is actually all about. They were trying to get their own vision passed into law, and they wanted to use this national crisis as a vehicle to do it. For instance, minority banks, and this is from this is from pjmedia.com. This was published yesterday. Identity politics provisions are nothing new in Democratic bills, but this coronavirus emergency package includes a specific program to help banks and credit unions owned by Blacks, Native Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and women. Minority-owned institutions should be encouraged, but government programs to do so may end up undercutting them in the same way affirmative action programs cast aspersions on successful minorities. Whatever your position on such issues, they do not belong in an emergency coronavirus response bill. I agree with all of that wholeheartedly, including the importance of the program itself to try to help certain institutions which are perceived to be disadvantaged. But this is not the opportunity. This is not the time to do that. There's provisions in this coronavirus package pertaining to violence against women, funding for the Kennedy Center, AIDS funding, again, a very important issue, but this is a different virus that we're fighting. Why did you put this in this legislation? This is an interesting one. LGBTQ plus financial literacy. I'm going to dig into some specifics about this. Neither abortion nor Planned Parenthood is specifically mentioned in Pelosi's coronavirus spending bill, but another social issue found itself smuggled in. The bill provides for a financial literacy education commission emergency response, which would place special emphasis on providing an additional set of tools geared towards women, racial and ethnic minorities, veterans, disabled, and LGBTQ communities. Financial literacy is important, but why the focus on this interest group in this bill? There's provisions pertaining to collective bargaining, airline carbon emissions reporting. What is that doing in a coronavirus stimulus bill? Airline carbon emissions reporting. A $15 minimum wage, that made its way into this, among the 1,403 pages of legislation intended to protect Americans financially while we're not allowed to work. Okay. Not allowed to work, not allowed to leave our homes. People are dying. What are we up to? 897 deaths in the United States? Perfect opportunity to talk about a $15 minimum wage. Yeah, how's that for opportunism? And finally, there are apparently 60 pages of the 1,403, 60 pages about elections and election policy. Well, my own scan, I mean, the full text of this legislation is available at congress.gov. And when I heard people in the news throwing a fit about what Speaker Pelosi's legislation was trying to do, I wanted to see if I could figure it out for myself. So, just a scan of the text of H.R. 6379, I found that the word racial appears 9 times. The word gender appears 8 times. The phrase Affordable Care Act appears 23 times. The word diversity appears 25 times. And the word minority appears 115 times. These are all topics worthy of discussion, but they're also all decidedly Democratic issues, and they are all questionable at best with respect to what they have to do with this stimulus bill and what its purpose really is. Just trying to shove all this in here to get it passed during the midst of all this is something I'm quite glad was not allowed to proceed. I am still waiting for the text of whatever the bill is, this deal that's been reached between the Senate and the White House. I understand that even Speaker Pelosi has given a sort of provisional tepid support for whatever this may be. As of right now, as far as I can tell, there still remains to be a vote in the Senate, and then obviously the House of Representatives needs to vote on it as well. And I read some stories someplace that there is going to be a little bit of drama in the House of Representatives. Certain GOP members of Congress who, for some reason or other, have decided they object to it, calling it a raw deal. I didn't really take the time to figure out what that's all about, but we're going to see what we're going to see. I really have a pretty strong confidence that this is going to move forward for everyone, and we're going to see some progress. Now, I'd like to jump to a completely different subject. I'd like to talk about what's going on with Ancestors of God right now. The record, which we began tracking and recording on September 20th or 21st. So, yeah, over 6 months ago, we have just received some MP3 files from the studio in Omaha, Nebraska, to which we sent these mixes to get mastered. And I had plenty of time throughout last night and earlier this morning. So did my two band members, to sit and listen to these mixes, and they sound just incredible. They sound fantastic. And so we've decided that this is what we're going to go with. And within 24 hours, we will have the full 24-bit WAV files back. And that'll be it. The record is finished. The record is finished. We have other projects to do in terms of duplication, in terms of artwork. You know, we're not quite to the point of having a product available yet, but we've gotten the most important part of it, in my opinion, done. The music is ready, and I can't wait to share it with everyone, because it's pretty it's something that we're all very deservedly proud of. I'm definitely proud to have been a part of it. And we have now gone, as far as I can remember, I think we've now gone the longest we've ever gone without meeting for rehearsal. And it's going to be at least another couple weeks before we're able to. But luckily, we're able to transmit all these files back and forth. Yeah, the person to whom I sent them, incidentally, his name's Doug Van Sloan. He has a studio in Omaha where I lived for 25 years. Doug first did mastering work for me in I think I mentioned it before, like late 2004, early 2005, when he was working for Studio B in Omaha. And then by the time I brought him an actual record, it was just an EP when I was in this group called Beta Minus. That was when he had already got Focus Mastering up and running. And I'm thrilled to see that he's still in business. And I'm even more thrilled at the job he has done with the Ancestors of God stuff. So that's very, very exciting. And we're going to have that. I don't know. We're definitely doing a digital release. I don't know whether or not we're going to release a quote unquote single, just or a lead track to get it out there for people to hear while we get the rest of this work done. We've definitely got a lot of time on our hands to talk about those kinds of details. I'm pleased to say that time is being used efficiently and productively. As far as whatever else may be going on, there's still no definitive date being given on when myself and my coworkers might be able to go back to work at our job. All we can do is wait. I mean, it's going to be until April 6th at the very earliest. And even within the text of the governor's proclamation, that date is subject to possible extension. I tend to think it most likely will be extended, just given the way that things are going. But there is hope. There's light at the end of the proverbial tunnel. Congress seems like it's doing its job. for once and setting the petty squabbles aside long enough to get something done that we all need. This bill would be by far the largest of its kind in the history of our country. And we need it. We need it. So I'm going to leave things there for now. It looks like I've hit just about 25 minutes of broadcasting. And I'm sure that within the next 24 hours, there will emerge more things to discuss. And there's going to be more fodder for the cannons. So for now, things are beginning cautiously to appear optimistic. Be good to each other.